So this is breaking news. Russia has cut the gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria. Now, why has Russia done this? Well, at the end of March, at the end of last month, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, he told Gazprom, which is the state-owned gas company, and the Russian Central Bank that they have 1 week to come up with a plan where European countries, or as they call them, unfriendly countries, have to start paying for gas in rubles, in the Russian currency. And this is, of course, huge because this has never happened before. Europe gets about 40% of its gas from Russia, and most of these contracts, they're long-term contracts, they're denominated in US dollars and euros, mostly in euros. And so the idea that suddenly they have to pay in rubles, I mean, you know, a lot of European countries, the EU, the G7, were saying that this is in breach of the contracts. And of course, I have a separate video on the channel. I explain to you exactly how this payment system works. The Russians came up with a plan where basically, if you're a buyer of Russian gas, you could keep sending euros or dollars, but you would have to open a second account in a Russian bank in rubles. And the Russian bank would take your euros or your dollars, sell them for you at the Moscow Stock Exchange in exchange for rubles, and then put them rubles in the second account in your name, and then pay for the gas from that second account. So at the end of the day, even though you're sending euros or you're sending dollars, you're still paying in your name for that gas in rubles. And the other benefit of that is that the money is now in Russian control, because up until now, European countries have paid for Russian gas in European banks. So, you know, there's a huge risk that this money could be frozen. Up until now, they haven't sanctioned Russian energy banks or the energy sector, but they did sanction, you know, the US, the EU, Japan. They've sanctioned about half of the Russian central bank's assets, which is enormous. And so the Russians, why have they implemented this plan that they demand gas payments in rubles? Because the ruble has plummeted as a result of the sanctions after the beginning of the war in Ukraine. And so the idea is that if we make, or we meaning the Russians, if we make the Europeans pay us for our gas in rubles, that will drive up the value of the ruble, because they have to go and buy rubles, which increases the demand and therefore the value of the rubles. And so let me show you this headline here, right? They're saying that Russia to halt gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria, and this is huge because these are the first countries that have now been cut off from Russian gas. And Putin warned them. He said, if you don't pay in rubles by mid to end of April, the gas is going to get cut off. And the Russians were saying, why should we send you gas for free, right? Now, some countries like Hungary have come out and said they will pay for the gas in rubles. They said, no problem, fine. But countries like Poland and Bulgaria said, screw you. And let me explain to you what's going to happen now, because as of now, in Poland, they depend on Russian gas. About 50% of national consumption in Poland is Russian gas, okay? And that's about 10 billion cubic meters, 10.2 billion cubic meters a year. Now, I'm going to break down to you what Poland is going to do now and how they're going to replace this gas. Let me just show you first a clip from Polish officials announcing that they've been cut off.
Jesteśmy gotowi na pełną niezależność od rosyjskich surowców. Jesteśmy gotowi na pełne sankcje, pełen pakiet i pełne odcięcie. Zauważyli pewnie Państwo, że pojawił się w okolicach godziny 19 komunikat PGNiG-u o wstrzymaniu dostaw gazu ziemnego w ramach kontraktu jamalskiego. W ostatnich dniach pojawił się dekret Putina, który zobowiązywał państwa kupujące gaz od Federacji Rosyjskiej do płatności w rublach. Jednocześnie PGNiG otrzymał oddzielne pismo wzywające do podjęcia płatności do regulowania własnych zobowiązań właśnie w tej walucie. PGNiG ma kontrakt jamalski, ma umowę, która obowiązuje. W żaden sposób ani ten dekret, ani jakakolwiek korespondencja pomiędzy PGNiG-iem a Gazpromem nie jest zobowiązująca. W związku z tym PGNiG otrzymał w dniu dzisiejszym informację, iż wraz z dniem jutrzejszym gaz rosyjski z kontraktu.
Right, so you might be asking yourself, well, they're screwed, aren't they? They get 50% of their gas from Russia. How are they going to substitute this all of a sudden? Well, let me show you the Polish plan. Okay, so right now, as I told you, Poland gets around 10.2 billion cubic meters of gas a year from Russia, and that represents 50% of Poland's national consumption. Okay, now here are the options that they have. So they could get 2.5 billion cubic meters from Lithuania, because this week on Sunday, on May 1st, there's a new pipeline that's opening. And I'm going to show you the pipeline on a map. So this is... Here you go. So you can see that. This is the gas interconnection Poland-Lithuania. So just for short, it's called GIPL. So this is a new pipeline. And again, it doesn't substitute everything Russia's giving Poland. Just about a quarter. Okay, so just about 25%. Now, the next option that Poland has is to get about 5 to 6 billion cubic meters from Slovakia. This is an article from Reuters that appeared on April 22nd, and they said Slovakia says gas pipeline to Poland is almost finished. Okay, so like I said, it's between it's around 6.1 billion cubic meters to Poland. Okay, so the other option that the Polish have is to get gas from an LNG terminal. So LNG means liquefied natural gas, and the problem that Europe has is they don't have enough terminals. You have to build special terminals at a port, to offload this cargo, right? It's a special procedure, and the Europeans don't have enough of them. Poland, however, does have one LNG terminal, and it's over here. I'm not even going to try and read the city because I'll butcher the name. Please excuse me. But where am I? I'm pointing the mouse cursor. They have one LNG terminal, which gives them around 6 billion cubic meters a year. That's the theoretical maximum. As of now, on average, it's giving Poland about 3 billion cubic meters, right? So I've told you now 2.5 from Lithuania, 5 to 6 from Slovakia, and another 3 from the LNG terminal. So that almost covers everything Russia's giving Poland. But there's another pipeline on the way, and this is going to be open between Norway and Poland. So again, let me try and pull this up for you. Let me pull up the map. This will open in October, so it's not ready yet. Again, the one to Lithuania opens this week on May 1st, but this one is not ready yet. And this is called the Baltic Pipe Project. So here's a map of the pipeline. And as I said, it will be ready this year in October. And it will bring gas from Poland to Norway. From Norway to Poland. And that will provide Poland with about 10 billion cubic meters. So honestly, from what I'm seeing, from the theoretical capacity, Poland could effectively substitute all of its dependency on Russian gas with the pipelines I just mentioned to you. Now, obviously, this takes some time. Like I said, it's not from one day to the next, but it is something that they've envisaged in the long term, because Poland was planning on cutting off its dependence on Russian gas by the end of the year anyway, because Poland's contract with Gazprom, the Russian state-owned gas company, it ends this year at the end of 2022. So they were planning to stop that anyway. And they, for the last years before the war in Ukraine, they were already trying to reduce their dependency on Russian gas. And from what I'm seeing, again, this is if everything goes perfectly as planned and everything opens and is functional, they could replace it. Now, Bulgaria is another story. Bulgaria, let me show you. This is from, hold on a second. Right, this is from Reuters, okay? And they're saying that Gazprom also informed Bulgarian state gas company Bulgargaz it will halt gas supplies from Wednesday, so that's April 27th. And Bulgaria also had a contract due to expire at the end of the year, just like Poland. This contract meets over 90% of its gas needs, with Gazprom's imports at around 3 billion cubic meters a year. So what they're saying is that Bulgaria gets 90% of its gas from Russia. And I really don't know what they're going to do exactly. This doesn't really bode well for them. You can see here, this is a comment from Tom Manser. He's the head of gas analytics at a data intelligence firm, ICIS. And he said, this is a seismic warning shot by Russia. Poland has had an anti-Russia and anti-Gazprom stance for a number of years, which is not the case for Bulgaria. So to see Bulgaria also be cut off is also quite a development in its own right. Okay? So again, I don't know what the Bulgarians are going to do exactly, but for Poland, it looks like they can get away with it. Now, what did this news do to the gas prices? Well, I was live with you guys when the Americans were saying they're going to ban Russian gas and Russian energy imports in general. And we saw the prices going up, oil prices and gas prices. And then when they actually banned it, again, it went up even further. And we've had the highest prices since 2008 in terms of crude. Now, today's news that Russia is cutting off the gas to Bulgaria and cutting off the gas to Poland, it sent the European benchmark gas price up by 15%. So I'm just going to show you here. This is the Dutch TTF. I'm going to refresh the page. Just give me a moment so we can see the latest of what it's at. And I'm going to show you the chart from just the last day, not the last 6 months. Now look, you can see at 9 in the morning, it was around 91. And then here after the news, so it shot up to 108 and now it's closed at 98. I mean, I don't know where this is going to go because we've seen the gas and the oil prices shoot up because of the war in Ukraine and then come back down. So again, this whole thing, the whole point is that this is unpredictable. But the idea that countries can just shut off, Russian gas, this is dangerous. It's very dangerous because maybe Poland can pull it off. But I don't know if Germany is going to be able to make that transition as smoothly. I really don't. Germany doesn't have a single LNG terminal. Not a single one. They've just started building them, and these things take years, right? Around 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And again, just for context, this is the pipeline that we were talking about, the Yamal pipeline, where the gas from Russia would come into Poland and so on. If I'm not mistaken, it's reverse flow as well. So Germany could send some back to Poland, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But in any case, this is the main pipeline we're talking about. And, Germany, for all intents and purposes, I don't know how they're going to be able to just replace their 40% plus dependency on Russian gas. Poland, for example, they've been trying to bring in LNG from places like Qatar. And again, this is fine and dandy, but just to remind you guys, all the LNG in the world, all of the liquefied natural gas in the world is not enough to replace Europe's dependency on Russian gas, which is, 40%. It's not enough. It just doesn't exist. And even if it did exist, the infrastructure, the LNG terminals in the European ports, there aren't enough of them to offload the cargo. And even if you could offload the cargo, there aren't enough pipelines to get it everywhere. This is really stupid, This is really, a dangerous game that's going on. And it's weird because the EU itself is saying that it's not a breach of contract to pay for the Russian gas in euros. Because basically, as I explained to you, Gazprom Bank will take your euros or your dollars and sell them for you in exchange for rubles and then make the payment for you. So I don't see how it breaches the contract. I think some countries are just choosing to be stubborn and put their foot down and say, no, we are not going to open a second ruble account in a Russian bank. We are going to pay the same thing that we agreed on to the same accounts that we agreed on. And then other countries like Hungary and Germany, I don't know what Germany's stance. Germany changes its position like socks, But countries like Hungary have said, fine, whatever, we'll just open the second account and pay it for you. Now, here's a map again, just to refresh your memory, just to jog your memory of the European dependence on Russian gas. Okay, so this is from 2020, so it's not the most up to date, but it's quite accurate. And you can see here that the dark blue, the darkest of blue, is 80 to 100% dependency on Russian gas. Countries like Austria, for example, Austria gets 80% of its gas from Russia. That's enormous. Bulgaria, as we saw, is 90%. Again, countries like the UK, they don't get anything from Russia. I think it's like 3%. The US gets 3% of its oil from Russia, and the UK is the same. I know we're talking about gas specifically, but just to underscore my point, countries like the UK and the US, of course they banned Russian energy imports because they don't import anything. barely anything, right? That doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect on global oil prices. It does. But I'm just saying that it's very easy for countries, Anglo-Saxon countries like the UK and the US to say, just ban the Russian energy imports when they don't depend on any. So, as a whole, it's not looking very good. And I think at this stage, countries that are refusing to pay for gas in rubles, they're really kind of just, I don't know. They're really just being, what's the word I'm looking for? Stubborn in a way. We'll see what happens. I'm just going to say one thing. When you have a behemoth like the Russian gas industry supplying so much of what Europe needs, this is not good. This is going to disrupt supply chains. It's going to disrupt, people are going to lose their jobs, right? You're going to see a real shakeup, not just because it's a ripple effect. It's a domino effect. You might be thinking, yeah, well, what happens in Poland and Bulgaria doesn't concern the rest of us in Europe. You don't know that. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Now, just to be clear, the Polish today, they said that, yes, Russia's cutting off the gas, but we are not going to have a shortage because they have between 70 to 80% of their reserves full. Okay, so Poland has most of its reserves, up to 80% of its gas reserves still there. So it can use those. And as I said, it has replacements. So the Poles are saying it doesn't matter because, we're not going to cut off consumers. They're not going to get any less gas. And we don't even have to use the reserves yet. Okay? But countries like Austria has the lowest reserves in Europe. And it depends the most on Russia for gas. So I don't know. I don't think this is going to be smooth sailing just yet. And we'll see where it goes from here. But I just wanted to bring you the latest on what's happening because this is very, very significant. And you can see once again how the war in Ukraine isn't just about what's happening in Ukraine. It's having enormous, enormous ripple effects globally on everything from the petrodollar to, I guess you could say, the gas ruble now, to energy supplies. It's really incredible what we're seeing. So this is the latest. There you go.